to either set or try and catch the mood of the evening. So the question arises, what is the mood of this evening? Are you all pissed off because you've been raining so much? Or are you all happy to be here? Are you all glad because you're full of fizz and wickedness? Or are you all rather depressed because you've not had enough sleep the last 2 nights? So could someone call out to me a particular mood which they think reflects today and this gathering? Moods? Single word suggestions?
Exuberant expectation.
Ugly.
Oh, no, I'm not catching up on those. Someone said expectation, I think. What was it?
Expectation.
Wonderful.
Right, oh, right, good. Let's call it wonderment. Because I'm looking for a noun. It's a nice word, wonderment, isn't it? You don't hear it much. So someone said expectation, and it was it's the third.
Exuberance.
Right, well, all right, I'll take up Jill's suggestion, because no, Jill is a rather managing lady, you see, and when Jill says jump, I only stop to ask how high. the only other person I do this for is Anne Schumer. Is that it? Oh, yes, you're right. So let's take up a mood of exuberance and see what I can do. That sounds terribly metallic. Dan, can you help me adjust the sound of this piano so that that's metallic?
We'll need a knife.
You need to
That sounds a bit better. I'll see if I can.
piano's to order.
Right. It's still a bit metallic, but I'll just have to look.
That's just the machine, I'm afraid.
Still sounds like a load of tin cans on a corrugated iron roof. We'll just have to live with that.
I think I'm playing octaves. I don't know if that's
Well,
unless you were actually really virtuoso and
could you cut out the octaves? It was fine for what I was doing. Now, if I was highly organised, I would have got this piano sorted out before. So while Townsend is trying to set up a machine to a more discreet sound, that sounds a bit better.
that's your trick of turning it off and on.
Well, at the moment I haven't got my reading glasses on. So at this point I will explain how the rest of this lecture recital will proceed, how it's organised. In a moment, Keith Sparrow will stand up and present an envelope to Ives. Where is? Oh, there it's Ives. That envelope contains 3 tunes which I have never seen before. Keith, we all know to be an absolutely honest and honourable person. There has been no collusion between Keith and myself. But just to make sure, I will take the envelope from Keith's hot hand, and she will open it in front of me and say something like, I declare these tunes have been untouched by human hands. You say whatever you think fit. I will then need a moment to look at the tunes, arrange them in order of extemporisation in my mind, and get 1 or 2 rough ideas about how I'll harmonise a tune. Each tune I will first of all play with a straight harmonisation, and then I will segue into a following improvisation. After the first improvisation, I will then give you a brief account of what classical extemporisation is all about, and how it differs from any other forms of extemporisation you might know. After the second extemporisation, I will tell a droll true story concerning extemporisation. After the third extemporisation, Rob Harper, admired by all, will stand up here, and we will be then joined by Marion. Marion will sing the song Summertime while I play the straight accompaniment. Then there will follow 3 extemporisations on the tune of Summertime from my hand, plus 2 extemporisations by Rob on the guitar. At the end of that, as what I hope will be a grand finale, Rob and I will extemporise together using the basic chord pattern of Summertime. This may be a triumph, it may be a dismal failure, we'll just have to hope for the best for that one. Extemporising between 2 people can always be a bit tricky. After that, you can give a sigh of relief, go and buy drinks, and don't forget that a little later we'll be having songs and poems of social significance. So, Keith,
Not much later.
I said a little later, like 15 or 20 minutes. And Keith, if you would be so kind as
Written on the £10 note.
well, yes, because I need to have sight of all 3 so I can decide in which order I'll work on them.
How do we know? This doesn't prove that you haven't confirmed.
He's so honest.
Not to organisers.
Oh, ye of little faith.
Well, so we checked the fingerprints, I think.
Right. So I need just a short moment to decide what order I'll work on these and to get some ideas of how I will work upon them.
Do you need flatter copies to work on?
Pardon?
Do you need flatter copies to unfolded copies?
Oh, I see what you mean. That might help. They are a bit floppy and
How do we know they're sale?
right, that's it. So I now have flat copies which are less likely to flop around off the music stand.
The element of danger.
I'm going to tell you what the 3 tunes are. They're all quite old hymns. First of all, I'll work with something called Cheliti's Ploughland. That's something like the Heavens Rejoice, Keith. Keith probably has better Latin than I do. Then it will be Quem Pastores, which is an old Christmas carol, isn't it? Pastores refer to the shepherds who form part of the Christmas story. And then there's a rather more recent tune called Monkland. The fact that we have 2 Latin titles here shows that Keith is strongly drawn to music of the Middle Ages. Is that a fair comment? Well, I asked Keith to give me tunes that would have been familiar to an organist in the 18th century. Why did I ask that? It's because my natural style of improvising and harmony and structure follows along the lines of the early 18th century. It's still a bit tinny, never mind, just think of tin cans on a corrugated iron roof. melody. I was more concerned to catch the mood of the melody. So, classical extemporisation. What is it all about? The key thing about classical extemporisation is the same thing as in formal composition. It's the architecture that matters. You're not just working with a preset pattern of chords. Instead, you have to look at the chordal possibilities that lie in the melody, and then you have to think ahead to create a whole structure which revolves around keys, tonality. So, by working through different keys, modulating from one key to another, it's a bit like going for a walk on a nice day in the park. You know, you leave home, sun's shining, it's all very nice. You turn the corner by the post box, then you come to a busy road, and you cross the main road. So we've had the post box and the main road, you know, 2 key points on the way. Then you enter the park, and for a while it's all very nice. Then clouds come over the sun. A thunderstorm is looming. So you run for home, back past the key points you passed on your outward walk, and hopefully you get home just as the heavens open and the deluge comes soaking down. So with this kind of architecture, it's like, you know, making that journey, making that walk away from home, and then coming back home, and all the while we're going through the different keys, but ending in the key we started. So classical extemporisation is all about architecture. It's not enough to be able to simply harmonise a tune. You have to be able to think in terms of a pattern of keys and make that there and back again a kind of journey. Now let's see what I can do with the second tune. So this is Quem Pastores, an old Christmas carol. Said that classical extemporisation is not much practice nowadays the way it still was 200 years ago. I mean, 200 years ago, if you had piano lessons, you were taught extemporisation as a matter of course. That's no longer the case, but there is one kind of instrumentalist nowadays who still has to practice it. And this is the organist. Well, I'm a church organist, And every Sunday, I have to do some extemporisation as part of my duties as I play the organ at my church. And quite often, well, not often, but sometimes, the organist will have to cover for the unexpected situation. Let me tell you a true story about the unexpected situation. In Walsall, there is, I believe, a big Catholic cathedral. And I used to have a friend who was the organist in that cathedral. Well, once on a day, he was playing for a very grand service which had been organised weeks in advance. The bishop was there, all the senior clergy were there. It was a truly grand occasion. Well, the organist was seated at the west end of the church above the main door, and just above him on the organ he had a rear vision mirror like you get in the car, and he could use that to see what was going on in the body of the church. Well, the organist noticed that, quite unexpectedly, the bishop and the clergy were forming up for a procession where no procession had been planned in the order of service. And just as my friend was wondering what was going on, one of the bishop's sidekicks appeared at his side and said, look, there's going to be this procession out of church and the bishop will be gone a little bit, so can you extemporise a march to cover the procession? So my friend drew the organ stops and he launched into a grand march. In the rear vision mirror, he could see the bishop and all the clergy processing down the aisle of the church to the great west door, and then they were gone a few minutes before they reappeared and they processed up back to the altar, and at that point the service resumed its proper course as had originally been planned. Well, after the service there was a bun fight, and my friend the organist found himself in a corner talking with the bishop. And so my friend asked the bishop, Your Grace, why did we have that march in the middle of the service which had not been planned before? And the bishop looks around to make sure no one else is listening and said, well, frankly, I was taken short and I needed the loo back. There's style. He didn't just go to the loo. He formed up a procession, a grand march on the organ, and that's the way he went to the loo.
Grand march right now.
Well, it's all right, because I'm not expecting any of you to march in a way that's grand or otherwise. I think this room is not really suited for marches. Sorry about that, Tamsin, but we're not going to get a march from you tonight. So, I now move on to the third tune. And this is called Monkland. I think this is actually a 19th century hymn. Is it? Oh, right. Anyway, so, the more learned amongst you, that last movement was a fugue of sorts. I'm not saying it's such a fugue as J.S. Bach would have extemporized, but it still answers more or less to the description of a fugue. Right, at this point, Marion will stand up and sing Summertime to my accompaniment. As soon as she has finished singing, I will launch into a first extemporization. Then Rob will answer with his own extemporization on the guitar. I'll play a second extemporization. Rob will play again. I will play a third extemporization. And then, so help me God, Rob and I join together and do violence to the music. My intro then. Lying on the bed earlier this evening, I was giving some thought to what I might do, but I'm still not quite sure what's going to happen. Let's see what happens. and me just as yet.
Okay.
Take it away, Rob. Before David finishes up, I was frightened to death tonight because normally I don't ever play the tunes at all. And I played that one about 6 weeks ago, was it, Marion?
Something like that, yeah.
And I also played it once before this year. So I thought everything would fall apart because I sort of almost knew it. But anyway, and the other thing is, although we knew we were in the same key, people who are familiar with Summertime, there are at least 3 or 4 different chord arrangements. So I had no idea how things were going to happen until we started. Anyway, just say that.
Right.
So
Thank you for your attention, everyone. Now I hope you'll go home and start working out classical extemporisation for yourselves. So now there comes a break, and then Mavis Cook compares songs and poems of social significance. Thank you, everyone.